What's going on, everybody? It's IBB James, and I'm here with a couple of friends of mine, Jared and Grace, and they're about to share their hashtag IBB Top 3
Trilogy.
Oh, yeah. All right. So, what they're doing is you guys can kind of give us a little background on yourselves and what brought you here, and then we're going to dive into your first key to success and just kind of roll from there. So, take it away.
Yeah, so I'm Jared Daly. I work for Cuyahoga County Board of Developmental Disabilities, and I do the business engagement for the community, talking to businesses about hiring people with disabilities and the advantages and the type of employees a lot of them are, and just try to advocate and educate employers about, that type of workforce.
My name is Grace Blatt, and I am an independent contractor for the Cuyahoga Board of Developmental Disabilities. I am a Good Life ambassador, so I go around and public speak to different people and different organizations about advocacy and people with special needs themselves. I have autism, so I enjoy speaking on behalf of the disabled community and helping make the world a better place for the disabled of all kinds.
Awesome. Very cool. Very cool. So, Grace, without further ado, could you kind of give us your first key to success as to what you try to help people understand when they're working with you and other people that are really out there to make the world a better place?
Oh, definitely. I think one thing that is essential to understanding how to treat people with disabilities is that to realize that we are more alike than different. You who are watching and me, there's not much difference in the fact that we have the same goals. We want to be independent. We want to have friends. We all have feelings. We all want to be successful, whether that means having a job, living independently, going to school, or continuing education, things like that. We all want to be accepted for who we are and not looked at our disabilities, but rather our talents and our abilities instead of that way. So we want to be treated like we're more alike than different. We want to be treated that we are just the same as you and me, only we are able to do things like you, be included in different things. And that leads into our next section, which is about inclusion, right?
Yes, but you got to come back for that. That'll be a separate video.
Yes.
So we talk about. So what are some things that, again, for myself, and we're more alike than different. We're all human beings.
Yes.
We're all human beings. We want to be loved. We want to have purpose. We want to be happy. But that's where something I know for me, I'm just completely ignorant to, what are some things that you find that maybe that like me, like I would say something, or what are common things that people say or do? They're like, you're like, time out. That's not how you approach the situation. Like there are certain common themes or trends, I guess, that we should be focusing on changing.
Definitely. I think a lot of people underestimate the capability of someone with a disability. Especially, there's a friend of mine who's in a wheelchair and he has a hard time saying his words, but he's very bright in the brain, and so a lot of people come up to him and say, "Hi, can you say hi?" And that's
What's the punch there?
and that's very degrading because this person has a college degree and probably is very smart, probably smarter than the average person, and just because he has a disability, people come up to him and treat him like he's just what he looks like. He's nothing more than what to him. So you should never make first assumptions or assume that they are less of you or that they don't know what they're talking about. So that's one way that a general mistake that a lot of people make is that when they see someone with a disability or when they know someone has a disability, because sometimes you can't always tell from looking at the person, that they treat them a little bit differently. They treat them like they coddle them, in other words.
Gotcha. So just treat the same, and Jerry, would you add?
Yeah, I think that was perfect.
Okay.
I can't really expound. She does a great job. I think just treating them exactly like you would anybody else. And someone's disability is just one part of them. I think sometimes people that don't have disabilities might focus on that. And just like all of us have unique characteristics, that doesn't really define us. That's just kind of one part of us, right?
I'm going to tell my wife that. I just said unique characteristics.
Right,
so
right. Right, exactly.
No,
There's a really funny quote, and I can't even remember who says it, but like with the deaf population, there was an individual that's like, deaf people can do everything you can, except here, right?
Yeah,
like that's just one part of who they are. So I think, someone with a disability, they can really do everything you can. Sometimes that disability might impact one part of their lives, and they've worked their whole life to kind of work around that. So I think, like Grace said, just going up and talking to someone just like you would anyone else, not talking to them like they're a child, not focusing on
not
their
talking
disability.
at them, but talking to them.
Yeah, talk with them.
So
like we're talking now.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. It's as easy. So I mean, you're doing this interview like you would with anyone else, and that's kind of what we hope and expect, and just kind of have really high expectations for people with disabilities, and that's really kind of even people in our field. We're raising those expectations, and people with disabilities meet it all the time. So the higher expectations we set, they seem to rise to it, and that's been really exciting for us. And even people in this field sometimes have had low expectations. So we've been working on that, and that's kind of what we're educating the general public and employers and businesses, that people with disabilities should be held to the same standards that you would hiring anyone else or working with anyone else. And it might take them a minute or two to get there, and need some supports to get there, right? A couple extra supports, but eventually you'll get there to that point that they want you. Yeah.
Yes.
I love it. Very cool. Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. So again, this is part 1. You got to come back for part 2 and 3. But until next time,
Stay burn proof.
Burn proof.
yeah. All right.